So let's say you roll back the time clock and you're 25 now here in Silicon Valley. You're interested in investing. You have nothing in your portfolio. How would you start up as Chris Dixon today?
Well, I could say, I think a little bit of how I could tell about my own experience, which is I started a company called Site Advisor, which then was acquired by McAfee in 2006, and I was excited to start angel investing, and so I called up Ron Conway, who was an angel investor in my company, and I said, I want to angel invest, what do I do? And he said, well, here's a list of companies, go talk to them. And so I actually flew out, I don't think I've ever told this story, but I flew out to California, and I met with two companies. Maybe I can say who. It was the Mint in the seed round, and it was a company called Rupture, which was a Sean Fanning company. And those are the two companies I wanted to invest in. And so I'll tell the Mint story. Rupture never raised a round; they ended up getting acquired. But so Mint, I went and met with the founder, and I said on the spot, I want to invest. And he said, well, you know what? It's oversubscribed. Like I have too many people, and let me get back to you. And then he got back to me. He's like, look, I got too many people that want to invest. You know, you did some security company, whatever. It's not relevant. Sorry, right? Like I don't have room for you. So then that was sort of for me like a light bulb of saying, okay, this is like I think I can pick companies pretty well, but this is not. This game is sort of not just about picking. It's about being invited to invest because basically the good companies tend to be oversubscribed. Meaning more investors' interest than there's opening for funding. And so then I called back Ron. I said, Ron, what do I do? He says, well, what you do is you invest in some good companies you can invest in, and then you work your ass off to be helpful. And the next time this happens, you say to Aaron, hey, Aaron, go call these other three people and see what they say, right? And so that was sort of the strategy. And basically, I almost think of it as like a video game where you do that and you level up. And as you level up, you can sort of then you sort of can invest in more companies and have sort of more abilities. And also, if you do it right, as you level up, you're actually able to help the companies more because you now know more people in the industry and like have more experience and things like this. And so it kind of works in multiple dimensions.
The root currency of that is actually just the entrepreneur reference.
It's the entrepreneur reference. That is the entire thing. And people that say it's like blogging and marketing, that kind of helps. But reality is any reasonable entrepreneur is going to either have heard from another entrepreneur or actually call up an entrepreneur. Yep. And that is like, you know, that is the basis of both angel and VC investing is the reference from other entrepreneurs. And the nice thing is I think the system kind of works in this sense in that there's no shortcut to that. Like the only way an entrepreneur, you know, when they're speaking, you know, one-on-one to another entrepreneur will recommend somebody is if you're actually helpful, right? Right. And that's, I think, one of the things about this whole system that works very, very well is that it aligns kind of, you know, in personal interests with kind of, you know, public interest or something. It's sort of the invisible hand working well.
Sure. Okay, so then someone out there.
So that's the thing. It's like it's a full-time job, really, and like I did it as a part-time thing, and I'm not sure that was always a good idea.
Yeah.
But it should be probably a full-time job, and it should all be about helping. That's 90% of it is being someone who's perceived to be helpful.
And the main things, and at least in my experience, I've found, you know, in the year of doing it, is that companies, they want to meet great people to potentially hire. Yep. That's like the number one thing. And then new customers.
Yep.
And basically help in preparing for the next round of financing.
And that's, but by the way, that aligns exactly with what all of our staff here does. Like that's almost exactly the list of the primary functions that we perform.
But for someone out there who's investing on their own, right?
Yeah, no, so there's sort of, Andreessen Horowitz is that applied at institutional level.
I see.
But as an individual, yes, you need to do it ad hoc. And the reality is, like an individual is, you're probably going to get the highest leverage out of, you know, sort of BD type stuff, like high-level business development introduction. Like, hey, I know the so-and-so who runs that division at eBay, that kind of thing. Yep. On the hiring, it's hard as an individual to really have a pipeline of, you know, every company you invest in will want engineers. And so, like, are you really going to help with that? I think the way you actually help probably is more on the, like a lot of the smarter companies do, is they wouldn't ask people like me for leads, but they would ask me to talk to the engineer to close them.
Right.
So they use you on the sell side, not the buy side, is what they say. You know, like, so there's a whole bunch of like different things you would do as an individual to help you scale versus things you would do. You know, like a lot of what I would do as an angel investor, and I would tell people this very explicitly up front, like one of the main things I will be able to do is I'll help you with your next financing round. Yep. Like, I'm not going to tell you like product advice. I'm not going to like, you know, come in and tell you to make that button purple, because I frankly found that annoying when I was an entrepreneur, that someone would just like swoop in for once a month and give me like, you know, detailed product feedback. But when it comes time for these kinds of key, Ron Conway calls it inflection points, like I'll be there and I'll give you advice and I'll perform certain, like hopefully high value functions that I can reasonably promise,